In this video, we want to introduce the idea behind continuous professional development. Just see what's involved and introduce the topic. Continuous professional development, CPD, refers to the systematic maintenance and broadening of knowledge and skills, and the development of personal qualities necessary for the execution of professional and technical duties throughout the practitioner's working life. And that's the definition taken from Klein, 1995. The idea behind continuous professional development is to try to ensure that workers, managers, operators, personnel within industry and commerce have the requisite skills and have access to development so as to continuously update their skills, and these skills are necessary for the execution of professional and technical duties. In other words, the personnel are up to date, and they're up to date not just at one point in time but right throughout their working lives. So it's a continuous process. It's development of people over a long period of time, over their working lives. It's programmed into their working lives. It's a part of their duties, and it means that they are at any moment in time up to date with their skills, their competencies, their abilities to handle situations and to work effectively. The definition explores three main concepts of continuous professional development. First of all, it's systematic and planned learning. It's systematic in the sense that it's, as I said earlier, it's programmed in to their working lives. It's something which is taken as a matter of routine, that skills have to be updated, they have to be monitored, checked, to ensure that working practices are as effective as possible and are up to date. So it's planned. It's not a random activity. It's not just something that happens periodically. This is something which is programmed in to the workers' lives, to the managers, to the operators, to the line workers. Right throughout the organization there is a program of development which should generate more productivity and better results for the organization in the long run, because the personnel have more experiences and are more up to date. The process entails broadening knowledge, skills and expertise. Sometimes it can lead to deeper knowledge of particular situations, and sometimes that deepening may be the product of reflection, that a particular issue is dealt with in some training session, and in a later training session it's mentioned again, and perhaps new insights into that particular activity are gained as a consequence. So it's a deepening. But generally speaking, the training tends to be widening the skill sets of the people attending these sessions. And there's a good logic for that, because it means that if employees are away ill or on holidays, or there's high labour turnover for whatever reason, the remaining workers, the remaining managers, will have wider skills in order to keep the organisation running over that temporary crisis. So when personnel leave, the remaining personnel will have the requisite skills to cover that shortfall. But I think in the context of what we're doing here, I think it's worth mentioning that the training packages can both deepen and widen, although the widening one gives the organisation more insurance that it will have continuous production and will be able to deal with labour turnover. But deeper understanding will lead to perhaps better quality of work, interest in the particular tasks, greater understanding of what is required. A lifelong learning process which requires commitment and dedication. And this is lifelong learning. Continuous professional development, well, it's continuous, it's lifelong. And the organizations who commit to this have programs of development built in to their routines, so that workers at all grades, from senior management right down through to the line management and the line workers, all have access to some training programs which will enrich their working experiences, make them more productive, but also make them more aware of what they're doing. But it has all sorts of spin-offs which are advantageous. For example, greater awareness of health and safety, greater awareness of issues involved in the particular tasks, how to solve problems, for example, how to maintain continuous production, but also how to deal with their fellow workers, how to understand the organizational chain and reporting issues and the importance of maintaining good records. All sorts of issues can be covered within the training program. And it really is a lifelong exercise if it's done properly. So CPD is the commitment of long-term learning, being professional and self-directed. The idea is that the employees understand the tasks, they understand the importance of maintaining their skills and learning new techniques, and also being professional about their tasks, professional about their work, professional about their relationships with their colleagues, and have a greater degree of self-reliance. They have the capacity to work independently, or at least a greater capacity to work independently. Organizations encourage employees to undertake CPD activities and learning opportunities. Well, I say they encourage. They should encourage employees to undertake CPD activities and learning opportunities. It's important for the employees to continually update their skills and their knowledge. It's important because the world in which we live is changing technologically. We have different trading patterns and different trading relationships. We have greater contact with overseas markets. We need to understand the cultures of those other markets. We have, as I said earlier, the onset of very rapid technological change, where now employees may be working alongside robots or working alongside highly skilled operators who are working in conjunction with machines that are pre-programmed. So it's important for workers to have a commitment to long-term learning and for the organization to facilitate that. So organizations should encourage employees is probably a better way of saying it, rather than just simply saying organizations encourage employees. They should encourage employees because it's in their long-term interest to do so, but also in the employees' long-term interest to acquire those skills. The changing environment puts demand on employees to replenish their skills, continue to learn and develop in order to meet corporate strategy. Well, organizations are not static entities. The organizations are constantly trying to work out new markets, new products, trying to compete with their competitors, try to break into new markets. But they're also living with quite significant change, as I said in the previous point. They're trying to cope with the onset of very rapidly changing technology. So it's important that the employees not just replace their skills in the sense of they used to do it one way, now it's done in a different way. They should update to that new way of working and continue to learn and develop in order to meet the new challenges that organizations face. So it's very important for organizations to provide training facilities, development facilities. And it's very important for the employees and the managers to engage with these learning facilities so as to make themselves more productive, to ensure continuity of employment, to ensure that the organization is meeting what customers require in an ever-changing world. So CPD is based on the following foundations. Learning and developing should be continuous. The learner must show growth and improve performance. So it's a continuous process. The term CPD suggests that. But it's not something that organizations should put on for a day once in a while. This is something which should be factored in to the work routine. There should be continuous improvements made in terms of training and understanding of the requirements of modern business. The learner should be in charge of their own learning. It shouldn't be forced on people. Excuse me. It's important that the learners take responsibility for their learning. It's important that the learners understand what's required and go about acquiring those skills in order to facilitate their long-term ambitions. So learners should engage with whatever's supplied in terms of training, but should also be keen to look for other opportunities where possible, perhaps night courses at local colleges or correspondence courses, to try and improve their own skills, their own productivity, their own understanding. And in this way the organization benefits, but the individuals themselves benefit by having more skills and therefore better employment prospects over a longer period of time. Assessment of individual learning needs must be carried out. Learners should be developed from their current learning potential. Learning schemes or training schemes should really take into account where the attendees have got to. It's frustrating to start at the beginning every time because people have learned from the beginning. They have moved on perhaps. So going back every time and starting at the beginning is frustrating. Instead, a proper audit of skills should be conducted. And the providers of the training schemes should be able to pick up from where the attendees have got to. Pick up from there and move on. Don't continuously go over what the attendees already know and what they are perhaps already doing. It's important to push on. That reduces frustration, reduces annoyance, and also has greater value in terms of the usefulness of the scheme. Effective goal setting, which challenges the learner and which are directed towards organizational goals. The training schemes can build in not assessments but targets, learning targets or skill development targets, and reward or compliment those who have achieved those. It could ask the attendees to perhaps read an article or think about a certain issue or a certain problem and discuss back on the next session. And in this way there's greater participation, there's greater involvement, but also there's greater empathy with the aims of the program. There's greater acceptance of what is required and why the programs are in existence. And the learners are more engaged. They want to be involved, which makes the whole task not just easier but more productive. So these are some of the essential points about continuous professional development. This is just a general introduction, but it covers some of the important points about this important process. And that's all we're going to deal with in this video. That's the source that I mentioned earlier, from which a lot of this material was taken. But that's what we're going to deal with here, so let's leave it at that and say thank you for watching.